Lord Dalhousie and the Doctrine of Lapse. Lord Dalhousie was determined to extend direct rule over a larger area as possible to facilitate. The British declared that they were obliged by duty to take over Awadh in order to free the people from the misgovernment of Nawab. Enraged by the humiliating way of which Nawab was deposed, the people of Awadh joined the great revolt that broke out in 1857. The revolt was successfully quashed by the British. With this, the conquest was completed. Many areas came directly under British administration. The Indian princely states were not directly ruled but were still part of British Empire as they were protected by it and they had no independent existence. Acts of Permanent Settlement. British policies were designed to increase the company's profit and to exploit Indian resources to their own advantage. However, it was felt that the British government should control the basic policies of the company's Indian administration, which had become highly corrupt. So, through a number of acts, the control of the British government over the company was established. The Regulating Act of 1773 was the first step in this direction. The Act subjected the actions of the directors of East India Company to the supervision of British government. The government in India was to be under the Governor-General and the Council of 4 members. However, the Act had certain limitations as no definite control over the company had been given to the British government and also the Governor-General could be overruled by his council. To improve upon this, Pitt's India Act was passed in 1784. It gave British government a supreme control over the company by establishing a new body, the Board of Control. It had 6 commissioners, including 2 cabinet ministers in the British government. It guided and controlled the work of Board of Directors of the company. The Governor-General, who lived in Calcutta, had a council comprising 3 members. The control of Governor-General over the presidencies of Madras and Bombay was clearly defined. Further, the Charter Act of 1786 gave the Governor-General the right to overrule his council. The Charter Act of 1813 abolished the company's monopoly of Indian trade. This meant that Indian trade was open to any British subject. By the Act of 1833, a law member was added to the Governor-General's Council. The company now became a purely administrative body. Administrative organization. Civil Services. Lord Cornwallis established the Indian Civil Services (ICS) in India. Prior to that, the traders assumed administrative functions. He tried to purify the administration by increasing the salaries and making promotions on the basis of seniority. After 1853, recruitment to the civil services started through an entrance examination held in England. As evident, it was extremely difficult for Indians to go to England and compete with British candidates. Later, the examination was held in India also. First Indian to pass the Indian Civil Service examinations was Satyendranath, brother of Rabindranath Tagore. Indians were excluded from higher posts in administration because the British did not trust them. However, a large number of Indians were employed in the subordinate posts. It was the highest paid service in the world, and civil servants were generally hard-working and efficient. Army. The army was important for the protection and extension of the British Empire in India. The company's army was first raised during Carnatic Wars. British maintained their hold over India with the help of Indian sepoys. The army consisted of British officers and Indian sepoys. The highest Indian officer could only be a subedar. The Indian sepoys remained loyal to their masters who paid them well. By 1815, there were 2 lakh soldiers in the army. The Indian Army served the British well in the 2 world wars. Police. Lord Cornwallis established a regular police force in India to maintain law and order. Each district was divided into a number of thanas, each under a daroga, who had armed men under him to maintain peace. The district superintendent headed the police organization in a district. The villages were looked after by chowkidars and the towns by the kotwals. Judicial organization. The British codified the existing system of laws, which was traditionally based on Shastras in the case of Hindus and Sharia in the case of Muslims. In 1837, the Indian Penal Code and codes of civil and criminal procedures came into existence. A digest of Hindu and Muslim law was compiled to guide the judges. In 1774, the Supreme Court was established at Calcutta, now Kolkata, to try the servants of the company. They also introduced the rule of law and equality before law. Rule of law meant the administration could be carried on according to clearly defined laws rather than on the whims and fancies of a ruler. Equality before law meant that all human beings are equal before law without any discrimination. But in actual practice, Europeans had separate courts and they were tried only by European judges. Often, European judges let them off lightly. Justice became expensive and a lengthy process for ordinary people. The Governor-General was conferred all the law-making powers in 1833. Like in other services, Indians could not aspire to hold high posts in judicial administration. Conclusion. Thus, the East India Company was transformed from a trading company to a colonial power. The arrival of a new steam technology was helped in this process. The arrival of new steam technology also helped in this process. Steamships reduced the journey time, enabling more Britishers and their families to come to a far-off country like India. By 1857, the company came to exercise direct rule over about 63% of the territory and about 78% of the population of Indian subcontinent. Thus, East India Company had virtually the whole of India under its control.